This show is brought to you by PivX, private instant verified transactions. With its groundbreaking zero coin staking and masternodes, PivX is the top privacy currency. Feel free to trade some on Binance or Bittrex, and for more information, go to www.pivx.org.
Hello and welcome to the third edition of Token TV Plus Developers Corner. I am Cryptosi and I am joined by a young man from the States who is a true up-and-coming rising star in the coding world, and his name is Kayaba. Kayaba, how are you today, sir?
I am very good. How are you?
I'm good. Right, so Kayaba, could you start off, as generally the coders that we have on, the developers we have on, are quite well known. You're a bit more of somebody who's not really been spoken about that much. People kind of speak about it, but nobody really knows who the real Kayaba is. So could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into crypto and coding?
Sure. So my real name is Luke Parker, and currently I'm the lead developer of a project called Ember. I got into coding when I was a kid due to my interest in how games worked, if I could change how they worked and so on, just like a lot of people do. And then a few years ago, I heard about this project called Swarm City. They were working on decentralized marketplaces, and I thought that could be a great way to get out there with freelance coding. And I started freelancing for them, and I really learned a lot about Ethereum in that time and how it works, the whole concept of ICOs and tokens and funding your own economy without having to sell off a business. So after that, I actually ran an Ethereum escrow organization where we built smart contracts that you could send Ether or an ERC20 to, and we would hold it in escrow, and then you could even send it to arbitration if there was an issue. And then when I was working on that, I learned about another project called Internet of People. And it was very interesting to me because they weren't just building technology, they were building communities. And they were such good communities, some could even argue their families. And I got a job for an organization they partner with quite often called Libertaria. And I started working on Libertaria's exchange. And that's really what brought me up to today.
Ah, brilliant. Okay, so you've had quite a varied history, quite a few projects there. I think I remember vaguely Swarm City. I think I vaguely remembered that. But your main project, as you said now that you've kind of moved on from Libertaria and IOP, is something called Ember. So could you tell me a little bit more about Ember and how it differentiates itself from Bitcoin?
So Ember is a brand new currency. It has a brand new code base. It isn't a Dash fork. It isn't a Bitcoin fork. And we're working on providing instant and feeless transactions. So whether if you're making a payment online and in person, you can instantly handle it. There's no waiting, and you can safely verify that the coins are yours and they're not going to be sent back at any point. Bitcoin uses a blockchain. We've all talked about blockchain, and they're a great piece of technology, but we said they were too slow. There's a lot of issues with block production, and we said it doesn't work for transactions. So we moved on to something called a DAG, or directed acyclic graph. Basically, you can write to one part of the DAG instantly without affecting the other parts. So it means that you can add transactions as they come in instead of with the next grouping. So because of this, there's also security issues, because if one part is edited without the other part, that means you don't need to have the full database, which means you might be missing data. So we brought the blockchain back in to secure the DAG. So we have transactions on a DAG, and then we have security provided by an external blockchain. And then these work together via a brand new consensus mechanism, which we designed ourselves, called merit caching.
Right. So the consensus mechanism is called merit caching.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So could you tell me a little bit more about this merit caching, and how does it? I'm assuming it's maybe a a cross between proof of work and proof of stake, but how exactly does it work?
Sure. So proof of work is just trying numbers again and again till you find the magic ones. Proof of stake is putting money in and saying, I won't mess up because I have all this money involved. Merit caching is a bit of both. So I've already said how we have the blockchain and the DAG. You still mine the blockchain, but you do not get Ember for mining it. You get a token called merit. And then this merit is used as weight in a proof of stake system on the DAG to validate transactions, because it's much faster to sign a transaction than to generate a bunch of random numbers for it.
I see. So will this merit that's on the blockchain, will that be able to be transferred from one user to another?
No, it is not its own cryptocurrency. It's saying that you did the work. It's not meant to be transferred because, of course, you could sell the private key, but you can't verify it's yours, and we've designed it to be that way because we do not want merit to be sold around. If you want to sell something around, sell the CPUs you mined it with.
Right. Okay, I gotcha. So what was the thought behind this merit caching system? Why would you go for that as opposed to just purely a proof of stake?
So I actually looked around a few different projects when I was designing merit caching. I looked at Bitcoin, I looked at Dash, I looked at PivX actually. I looked at IOTA, and I looked at Nano. And Nano ended up being the greatest inspiration for the project because they already have a payment coin that's instant and feeless. I just thought there's some security issues. Right now on Nano, if you got 51% of the network control, or if you got 30% and then you launched an attack to take the other 20% offline, which is still a difficult thing, but it's possible. If you did that, you can literally mint coins. Whatever voting happens, you can mint coins, you can delete coins, you can say transactions are invalid. It is very much a trustful system. And I don't believe cryptocurrency should be trustful. I believe it's in the name that crypto, as in cryptography, means that you should be able to verify it with the math. So the proof of stake system they had was DPoS, not POS. And it was very fast. But I also didn't like how it wasn't decentralized. So I thought if you had proof of work mining, which can be decentralized or can be taken up by farms, which we solve by a CPU-only algorithm. Of course, it won't stay that way forever, at which point we may hard fork, we may not. And I thought, so now we have the decentralization and we have the math behind it. And then the proof of stake offers speed. So I just thought speed, decentralization, and security. It's the trifecta that you really don't get with these other algorithms.
Yeah. I can see the logic there. It really does sound amazing. Going through and building something so progressive. What programming language did you decide to use and why?
So we use the language called NIM. It's a newer language. It's still actually not at its 1.0 release. It's still secure and fine to use. It just means that you may have to update your code base to the new language updates before 1.0, at which point your code's going to last longer. And it actually compiles directly to C and C++, which is what most of this stuff is written in. So that means we really could just load in any C or C++ library that existed. So this means that we could use Bitcoin's SECP 256K1, their private or public key library. We could just load it in. We didn't have to rewrite it. We didn't have to roll our own implementation. We just had access to all the existing code out there, but it produces a much more pleasant experience and it's much simpler. And I honestly picked it because it made writing Ember fun, not because it was Ember, but because I wasn't worrying all the time about what symbol goes where and when to use this symbol. And it really just got development along because I didn't dread using C++. Of course, I was a C++ developer and I've used it for years. I just didn't see the need to limit myself.
Okay, I've spoken to some other developers before regarding this type of, I don't know if you'd call it syntax control, But they said that there's another language called Rust, which is also very good for this sort of thing. And did you look into Rust? And was there a reason why you decided to go with Nim as opposed to going with Rust?
Yes, and I've actually been studying it in my spare time, and it's a great language. What it prioritizes is memory safety. So you can get access to the memory, but it prioritizes the fact that you'll never really have an issue with your memory. And it's a great language, but the syntax was even more complicated than C++'s syntax. And I understand that because it's a much more powerful language, in my opinion, for what it does. I'm not sure yet if it's a better language than C++, but I do know it's much more powerful in its field. And I just felt like if I use this language, every time I go down to write Ember, I'm going to have to convince myself. I'm going to start having a headache. And honestly, I'm not against writing tools in the best language. I'm not trying to say that. I'm also for getting tools out there in the first place. If you pick a language, that means your program's never going to get out there. Why write the program at all?
Yeah. With a language like Nim, it being so young, I'm assuming there's not very many people who are proficient in it. But as you said before, it's quite an easy language to learn. So do you envision in the future that there'll be a lot more developers moving over to Nim, and for that reason, do you think you'll find a lot more people willing to contribute to Ember as it's open source?
Yes, I definitely agree. I have actually a Python developer who's been looking into contributing to Nim or to Ember. And because of how easy it is, he's already started writing some code for Ember and been submitting pull requests just because of how simple it is and because it is similar to Python. It already does have a vibrant community on GitHub. There's work every day. There's bug reports posted so people can improve the compiler. There's almost 6,000 stars. I definitely think the Nim community is out there and growing daily.
Okay, so you mentioned there that you've already got a GitHub and people are already submitting pull requests. How far developed is Ember at the moment? How far along are you?
So if you were to pull up the Ember source right now and compile the code we actually do have a UI which can have you create a wallet and send transactions and receive money for other people. You can connect to other nodes. You can set up a node, but there's multiple issues. First, or not issues, but undeveloped features. First, we only have transactions. We actually plan on supporting data, not smart contracts, but the ability to send data. And we didn't put in smart contracts because we believe we should focus on just being a cryptocurrency, not a worldwide computer, which I think is a different project. But we did want to add in data to support second layers. But that's not in there yet. In the wallet, it has no design at all. It doesn't have any CSS. It's just a functional thing. You click a button, it generates a private key, it prints the info on it, and then you can send and receive. We also have yet to link the consensus mechanism into the lattice. So if you publish a send transaction, or if you publish a transaction, that doesn't mean that everyone on the network is going to agree with it. So it's not ready for use. You could set up a private testnet, but a public testnet is still a couple of months away. But we're definitely getting out there, and we definitely have something that if we wanted to, we could show to people.
This podcast has been brought to you by Rhubarb Media. Rhubarb Media are the branding specialists behind successful crypto projects such as PivX, Vendible, and Libertaria. The Rhubarb style is both loved and respected the world over, so if you want your project to appeal to techies and everyday users alike, give Rhubarb Media a try. You cannot possibly be disappointed. Link is in the description.
So, Kayaba, just there you spoke about data. So could you just tell me how much data will be able to be transferred per transaction? And also, what was the thinking behind having data being a part of actual cryptocurrency?
So a lot of people, when they're looking at new cryptos, smart contract platforms are becoming a big thing. There's a lot of new projects out there trying to become a world computer due to the success of Ethereum. And I personally believe that's not something you should have in a cryptocurrency. I believe a cryptocurrency is about being money. When you look at your fiat money, you don't ask it to do X, Y, and Z. Of course, cryptocurrency is a lot more advanced. But when you integrate the two, you also get a lot of problems. Like when Ethereum launched, ICOs would just crash the network. So we found the happy medium of not including a processor, but allowing data transmission, which means you can send instant and feeless data across our network. We're currently allowing a quarter of a kilobyte. And ERC-20s, Ethereum tokens, generally require half that data for each operation. So you can have tokens on the network, and we actually plan on including a token standard on day one for people to see how data can be used and the power of it. And we don't plan on data being the primary focus. In fact, we have spam filters. That's how we regulate transactions, because we don't charge fees. So because of that, you have to beat a spam filter with each transaction. It just requires a bit of computing power. It's non-intensive. And if the nodes who are running the network think they can handle more, they can actually lower it. So the spam filter is adjustable depending on network load. Data actually has a separate spam filter. So if data is getting too high and an ICO is taking up the network, the data spam filter can be increased, so regular transactions can still go by.
Okay, so what if there is like an ICO which is quite data heavy? Would there be a way for them to have some sort of fee so that they are simply contributing if they are adding value? Would it be possible?
We have looked into fees as a method of instead of the spam filter, and I actually did see another project that did that. The issue is it adds a lot of complications, and then you have to decide what's an acceptable fee. And then the fees go up and down. And in the end, we decided that should happen off the chain, where you pay other people to generate the work for you. And then you use the work in your spam to beat the spam filter. So you don't pay the node for you, you pay a third party to beat the spam filter for you.
That sounds like an excellent idea, because currently, with the way things are, fees are insane with both Bitcoin and Ethereum in particular. The way they will fluctuate on certain days, moving data around just becomes very, very expensive. So this sounds like a good idea. The third party, I guess you're just theorizing that at the moment, but would that be like a masternode type system, or how would that work? The third parties that are moving data for a fee.
So it would be centralized. You would hope that they take Ember on the network, of course, but it would be a centralized service. And you would submit a signed transaction to them, and then they would produce the work behind it and publish it to the network. So you would pay ahead of the time. You would generate work to beat the spam filter once. You would say, here's one Ember, and they'll say, we'll give you 10 transactions. We'll beat the spam filter for 10 transactions for you for this one Ember. And then instead of publishing transactions to the network, you publish the transactions to them, who will beat the spam filter. And no, they would not be able to change the output or change the amount.
Okay. That is excellent. Okay, so could you tell me a little bit about the addressing system within Ember, how you decided upon it, and how it differs from Bitcoin?
So there's actually 4 major address formats out there. There's Ethereum's, they just use the raw public key. And they encode it in hexadecimal format, which is 0 through 9 and A through F. And then Bitcoin has 3 of its own. They have something called P2PKH, which is where you pay to the hash of a public key. P2SH, where you pay to a Bitcoin script, which could be something like a multi-sig wallet. And then they have a new format that was introduced mainly for SegWit, and it's called BEC32. It's faster to calculate than these other options. It's easier to communicate from person to person because it doesn't have varying uppercase, lowercase characters. and it actually allows error detection. So originally we were going to use the raw public key, but unlike Ethereum, we were going to encode it in base 58, where instead of 16 characters, we have 58 characters, which means that we can put more data in each character and create a shorter address. And this is the same thing that most Bitcoin addresses use. But recently we started changing it to BEC32 because it's faster, easier to read, only 15% longer, I believe it was. And it allows error detection, which is just a nice feature.
Does this mean that you'll overall have more addresses that you can possibly generate on the Ember network than Bitcoin does?
So, yes and no. Both of us currently use the same elliptic key curve system or key system. It's something called SECP 256K1. Ethereum uses it as well. Though we're not finalized on it. We're looking into some other ones as well. And they have the exact same private keys and the exact same public keys. That said, you can format the public keys in two different ways. And Bitcoin will accept both ones as different addresses, which means that Bitcoin actually has double the possible addresses as something like Ethereum. But then when it creates the hash of the addresses, it goes from 2 times 256 bits to 160 bits. So Bitcoin limits its address space. So we will have the same amount as Ethereum, but more than Bitcoin when it comes to the possible addresses.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, right. So that's a lot about Ember. Where can people go to find out more about Ember?
So we're still working on our main website, but if you go to discord.embercrypto.io, you'll be redirected to our Discord. That's our main place of conversation. We have a Medium blog, which you can find at blog.embercrypto.io. And then we also have a Twitter handle, which is @embercrypto. And we try to do weekly updates, and we have been. So you can every week just check up on our progress.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'll link to all of those in the description so people who are interested can find out. I also happen to know that recently you got a spot on Coin Market Talk, which is a multi-project Discord. So I'll link to that as well, which will be pretty cool.
I recommend it.
Yeah. So just a few general questions before I let you go, because I know you're well, I'm eating well into your coding time at the minute. So where do you see crypto being in 12 months from now, and how do you think you'll fit into that?
I think just like it has been for the past few years, we're going to see a lot of changes. I'm not sure how much the top 5 points will, but the top 30 or top 50 points, we're going to see a lot who exit out, whether it be to a scam or a failure, and we're going to see a lot of new projects in the space that move off Ethereum tokens. We're going to see more governments trying to lock things down, and we're going to see less people caring about governments trying to lock things down in ETFs and price swings. I don't think it's going to be hard to live completely off crypto in maybe even just a year. And I think we'll finally start to see the cryptocurrencies, which will be relevant, say, 20 years from now, whether it be a proof of stake Ethereum with sharding just down the line, whether it be a new cryptocurrency. I think we'll finally see what you can still use 20 years from now.
Yeah. What do you a bit off topic here, but what do you think of the Ethereum's efforts at sharding? How do you see that turning out for them?
I think it's very impressive. They have some of the top cryptographers out there. They're researching it properly. They're not just slapping things together. They have the monetary resources. They have the established name. My concerns are the security of the individual shards and the finality of them. And we'll have to wait and see at that. because it might end up that people only use a few shards because only a few shards are known to be secure. And then those shards have the same problem as Ethereum. It might be a social problem, not a technical problem that ends up killing Ethereum's sharding, but we'll have to wait to see. That said, out of every single already launched project, I would say Ethereum for what to stick with.
Yeah, well, that was actually going to be my next question. So I'm going to not allow you to say Ethereum now that you said that, to make it a little bit more difficult. But if you had to go all in on a project, which project would it be and why? And you cannot choose Ember, and you cannot choose Ethereum. So which one would you say is the most impressive to you?
There's a lot of good options out there. And I'm going to have to pick. There's two options that come to mind. One is one of Ember's potential competitors, and the one that inspired Ember, called Nano. It has already done some of Ember's goals. Ember just looks to do that better and expand on them. But it's a quality payment coin. It has a vibrant community, and they're still releasing new technology. And then besides that, I would also say Monero, just because I admire its privacy. That said, I don't know how much new community technology they're building, such as hardware wallets, because I do know they're releasing bulletproofs, but you don't see a lot of new technology in the Monero news.
Yeah. Monero is one that's been around for a long time, so it's probably quite battle-hardened.
PivX is also a privacy coin, and they release new news all the time, so that's great for them.
Yeah. Right, Kayaba, thank you so much for giving up your time to be on the Developers Corner. I'm going to link all of the information to Ember into the description, so anybody who wants to find out more, who wants to contribute towards the Ember project with the goal of the feeless, ultra-fast currency, they can do that. And thank you so much for coming on, and I'm looking forward to getting you back on in a few months' time to get some updates to the progress of Ember and to look into the GitHub and see what kind of things have been going on in there.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Had a lot of fun.
Thank you, Kayaba. Take care.
All right, you too.